Interesting panel discussion, the session 3 on embracing zero trust infrastructure from strategy to implementation. I'm very happy to call on stage the session moderator, Mr. Avik Chatterjee, Executive Vice President and Global Head, Digital Customer Experience for Financial Services at Capgemini, to be followed by a brilliant lineup of speakers, and I'm very happy to be constantly interacting with them for the past couple of decades now. Mr. K. Suryanarayanan, welcome sir, Chief Information Security Officer at Central Bank of India. Dr. Rajendran, it's such a pleasure to see you once again, sir, on stage. Chief Digital Officer, Dr. Rajendran at Multi-Commodity Exchange of India. Mr. Venugopal Parameswara, Chief Information Security Officer at CSB Bank. Welcome, sir. Mr. Shibu Koshi Thomas, so good to see you again, sir. General Manager and CISO at the South Indian Bank. And Mr. Amin Thareja, Managing Director at ForcePoint. Gentlemen, kindly take your seats. Thank you, ForcePoint, for adding value to this conference and the proceedings. So, all over to Mr. Chatterjee and his team. Welcome, sir.
Hello. Audible? Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Post-lunch session, but I think something very interesting. Right from the morning, I remember when Mr. Vineet Goenka started, he talked about data sovereignty, right? And through some of the subsequent conversations, we talked about how to secure the data to be able to really make it meaningful. And drive that data sovereignty. And then I was wondering that, our session or the panel right now is going to be a good segue into looking into that topic in a bit more detail, okay? I'm glad that, the panel that we have in front of you today is an August panel and will give us some diverse perspectives. We have, representation from some of the very leading, public sector bank, private sector bank, commodity exchange, as well as a platform provider. So just to give you some context in terms of zero trust security or zero trust infrastructure, it is largely about a cyber security concept, right? It is all about a cyber security concept where any entity, right, which is trying to access certain data or any resource, you don't allow or you don't trust that entity by default or by design, okay? So it's all about, going back and ensuring that you are consistently looking for credentials, you are consistently going back and looking at real-time monitoring, and then being able to go with a fundamental principle of least privileges, all through. And there are multiple ways of doing it, right? In our day-to-day lives, two-factor authentication is one example of how we do that. Banks and financial institutions go back and, segment data. In our new age, you can understand, a lot of it relates around being able to correlate stuff. So AI needs to start to have a big play around it. So I think over the next 40 minutes, it would be an interesting insight into what has happened till now, how it has potentially worked in some of the, reputed organizations that this panel represents, and then also probably a peek into, what the future holds for us, all right? Thank you, my panelists. I'll probably start with, you, Mr. Suryanarayanan, okay? You come from one of our most reputed public sector banks. I would say that it is so well represented and diversified across India. I think, got close to around 4,500 branches. And I'm sure, you have seen a huge amount of digital transformation through the years, which has also kind of, delved into areas around zero trust security. So, it would be good to understand that, what does zero trust security mean to you or your organization, and why is it considered as a crucial paradigm when it comes to the shift in cybersecurity, right? And you may also want to top it up with your perspective of how you see zero trust security adoption in the broader banking industry.
Thank you. See, I will start by saying that banking works on full trust of the customers. Okay. Without customers' trust, there is no banking business. So when we say zero trust, I will not say use the word zero, because we have to trust our customers, we have to trust our employees. Because when customers are trusting the bank, we also should trust them. But then why is the zero trust, zero trust word is coming? See now, the zero trust security was earlier also it was there, but when the pandemic has started, see the COVID, there are so many companies that started work from home and even cloud also. So that is why this how to identify the employees or identify the access who is getting access to the bank systems. So now when we say zero trust, we are taking so many steps to ensure that the right person is accessing the right resource. That is the main purpose of this one. So anybody is accessing bank system, whether it is internal employees or contractors, vendors, or even customers. We have to ensure that the right person is accessing the right resource at right time. That is the purpose. So bank is taking so many baby steps towards this one, because of course zero trust, all of us know, it is not a single solution or a single process like that. It is a representation of consolidation of so many steps, whether it is technological, whether it is a process level, or whether it is like any other organization level. So we have, as already you explained, that we have multi-factor authentication, we have continuous monitoring, and we have identity and access management, and we have monitoring of user activities, whether it is a privileged user or normal users, so that we have to establish that the right person is accessing our system and doing the transactions. Of course, banking is the most one of the most target for the attackers because of the finance involved in that one. So we are taking so many steps, like all of the banks are taking so many steps towards the zero trust. The zero trust is a journey to ensure that we are moving towards 100% trust. That is my view on the zero trust.
Fantastic. I think, what an amazing way you articulated that the fundamental of the banking industry is around the trust between the bank and its customer. And the whole notion of a zero trust infrastructure is to be able to go back and solidify that trust between the customers. Mr. Suryanarayanan, any perspective on how do you see that adoption happening across the industry per se, specifically to banking?
Yeah, I think in banking, zero trust would be a so new concept actually. So because of this banking concepts, we were taking so many steps earlier also, and every step is contributing towards the zero trust, whether it's a multi-factor authentication. See, for example, bank's core banking system, to access that one, every employee has to do this biometric authentication. That is one way of doing this one. That is since even before COVID also it was there. So in most of the banks, this type of authentication mechanism is already there. And monitoring the systems. Okay, we have so many other systems like privilege identity management system, and so many other monitoring systems, that what are the activities the users are doing. Internal employees are doing, we are monitoring on a regular basis. We have the security operations center. All the systems logs are we are analyzing on a regular basis. And for customers also, we have, suppose for our net banking or digital channels, mobile banking also. For doing any transaction, they have to do one transaction pin in addition to the login pin. That is a continuous way of monitoring. Even though they are login with their credentials, right credentials, to do a transaction, they have to give one more pin. We will call it a transaction pin. So this way, we are taking all the baby steps to get to the zero trust concept actually. There are so many others also, like these are the basic things we are doing.
No, thank you, and what a fantastic way for the Indian public sector banks to be able to build that trust, in the whole net banking that has picked up, in the country. Okay, we'll pivot into, our next, panelist, Mr. Rajendran. You represent MCX, first listed commodity exchange. You've had a very long career, in the banking space as well prior to that. I think, what would be keen, we would be keen to understand from you that, when it comes to the commodities market, right, what are some of the unique challenges that you see, which is relevant to, cybersecurity, your perspective of how you would have seen it, from a banking standpoint before or probably into the commodity space right now?
Thank you very much. I just want disclaimer, whatever I am going to speak, it is my own views, not belongs to my organization. Okay. I think my co-panelist has started with the COVID. Okay. COVID is the best example for your zero trust. Okay. And you don't trust each others. You always keep some 10 feet away. Okay. Next, you do sanitizations as soon as you do the things. So this basic principle starts how you are building the framework for the zero trust. Okay. So if you see that the whether it's a payment space or the market infrastructure institutions, the MIIs, that's the exchanges, all this area, my journey has the different learnings from the one segment to another segment. If you see the banking and the payment space, the tech guys, business guys, operation teams, all together travel to meet customers. Okay? But when you go to the MII infrastructure, it's a newly different environment altogether. They themselves is a zero trust each other. Even as an organization setup, these are unique things. Because why? There is a huge demand on securing the data. So that's why what the business guy wanted to understand the information, and tech guy, though they might be storing and processing everything, they will not have any rights to see the data. Similarly, operation guy will have certain kind of the privileges to see the systems or inside the data, but business guy or tech guy will not have it. So because the requirement of this segment itself is to the basic itself, the zero trust requirements. Then how you build while building your future roadmap? I think there will be a lot of changes required in the in other segment, maybe a BFSI or banking segment, because they need a more cohesive and more collaborative and shared information kind of thing. There, again, they will start to have the first, you need to have, create a strategic and make the people to understand. Because suddenly if you go on, put your GM into a firewall network, and I'm filtering all the things that go, then you'll get immediately angry. And the fellow will be transferred or fired somewhere else. Okay. So you need to first create an awareness that why you need to have a zero trust environment. Then you build this culture fast, slowly starting. Already you know the things. When you try to access from the outside network, then you do whether it be a VPN, then you do the lot of, that is basically you do the zero trust, but once you logged into the system, you are entered into a castle. After that, you are free to everywhere roam around. But this is the traditional architectures which we follow so many years. Because once we say the things, a security is crossed, then feel everybody that inside everything is good. So that culture had to be changed then. Then we need to see the things. When you connected them, some guy might be only accessing only email throughout day, throughout year. Why that guy required an access to your production environment? Not required. Then somebody only just to do the PPTs and everything. So you need to classify. First you start doing the micro segmentations. You create your corporate networks separately. You create the production network segregatedly and your customer network separately. So you need to have first start with the micro segmentation as a framework to create the structure, then move towards a zero trust architecture. When you go evolving the final stage, what will happen? If you are if you are logged into the system, if you are not accessing an email for continuously 10 minutes, it should log out. Or if you are accessing a production system and your terminal is not working, then you should log out. Or again, you should log in and get into the thing. So these kind of things and all need to be created. So then what is the resource allocations? You have a lot of LDAP, ADs, so many ways to you create and resource allocations are there. Then you need to integrate the authentication system to resource allocation systems. Then you need to create the final things which you feel the things during the COVID, how you started operating from internet, from home or anywhere, anything. And the same way you need to also operate within your corporate network. I think with this, I think I will just close my remarks.
Thank you. You know, what you just explained me reminds me of that great example that traditionally it was like just having a lock at the main door of your house and you keep that, running well. Now, once you enter, you need to have locks in every individual rooms as well. So, and great example of the segmentation concept so that you just explained. Let us pivot into getting some perspectives from the private sector. Now, we have Mr. Venugopal. Mr. Venugopal, your bank has actually undergone, significant amount of digital transformation, over the last few years, okay? In your view, the adoption of the zero trust framework, within as a part of the digital transformation, how has that kind of, adopted to your posture of security in the industry?
Thank you, Avik. So that's a great question. With respect to zero trust is not something which will contribute to the digital transformation which the banks takes, but rather it's part of the digital transformation itself, because the core tenets of the digital transformations, let's say from a user standpoint, from a business standpoint, if I have to divide it, the user standpoint is primarily the convenience part, right? For example, someone who had implemented as a TNA kind of a platform can able to work from home at their convenience. You can actually connect the same set of data or same set of environment, the same experience you will get when you are at home or when you are in the office. So user experience, user convenience, and also obviously it will help the efficiency side. So that's from a user standpoint, how it will benefit the banks. The other aspect is from from the business side of things, right? How it will optimize the cost, how it will reduce the cost. I don't have to have a VPN infrastructure, and I don't have to manage those infrastructure and manage the user identities and all, right? It can actually negate all those requirements and then allow a single view of all my identities, my endpoints, and also my services and other assets and applications, right? So it allows me to have a simple kind of an architecture, reduce the complexity. When you reduce the complexity, naturally you reduce or improve the cost, optimization side. The other, of course, with respect to agility side. Now, banks typically have a lot of integration with fintechs, right? We normally, if I need to go in new solutions, or if I need to have more innovative products into the market, I need to venture into new technologies like APIs. I mean, maybe 5 years back when we are talking about fintech integration, or maybe 3 years back when you're talking about the fintech integration, we're talking about APIs, we're talking about cloud adoptions, and we're talking about Kubernetes now, right? Microservices and other platforms. Now, all these are possible now because without the hurdle or headache of managing those infrastructure, managing those capabilities. Now, that has become easy. So it increased the business agility to bring the product out into the market, allow them to do innovation in their space is something which using zero trust we are able to achieve a lot. The other is with respect to in terms of the trust factor, I just wanted to comment on that part as well. Now, to me, zero trust means earned trust. It's not really nil trust or no trust. It's basically you're earning the trust. And when you earn the trust, you are actually earning you're reducing the risk as well, right? So as you reduce the risk, you are actually earning this, trust of the systems, environments, and then you carry out those activities. And zero trust is more from a journey or strategy. Someone was mentioning about the journey. So to me, it's more of a strategy, risk management strategy itself. Now, how I'm actually managing my risk across my organization. So I would probably just stop here and then probably we'll touch base further.
Wonderful. Very, very nicely articulated. And, I think that's what, we would pivot into, that how do we then manage this at scale? So, managing a security of an apartment or a house is very different as compared to managing a security of a palace. So by that, I'll probably pivot into you, Mr. Thomas. Your bank has actually, diversified and grown significantly, not just within India, but outside as well, right? I think, with a network of, over close to 950 branches. In your scenario, right, where it is so well diversified and expanded, how do you bring in, uniformity and consistency in your security practices to be able to drive this at scale?
Yeah, thanks Avik, and thanks to IBEX for this panel. You have asked a very, very pertinent question here. In fact, this is not restricted to even zero trust. This is a challenge which organizations face, not only banks, even other organizations who are spread across, both India and across the world. How do you, ensure that the policies properly formulated, procedures formulated at the central level, percolates down into the last person in the organization, the last branch, last office, somewhere, some corner of the country or some corner of the world. Starting from the basics, I would say that, first is basically you need to create a set of policies, procedures, standard operating procedures, baselines, etc., which need to be then articulated clearly across the length and breadth of the organization, for which, of course, you need to set up appropriate communication channels, engage the stakeholders. Here, what we need to also understand is, good or bad, some of you may disagree or agree, the business users view security guys with slightly a eye of suspicion, I would call it, when these guys are out to create roadblocks. Yesterday I was happily, enjoying myself, having only a username, password. Today one more factor has come in, MFA. And now I have to know this, SMS may come, may not come. Then how do I log in? My life has become miserable and all those things. No, these are all common things. The point here is, you need to bring them also in. The uniformity and the consistency comes when the stakeholder also is convinced that at the end of the day, I'm a part of this, I'm responsible for this, ensuring the security of my organization, I'm also accountable. And when I comply and cooperate with these policies and procedures, I am securing not only my bank, my customers also. A lapse on the part of an employee may result in a problem for the customer also. It's quite possible, not only for the bank. So in that sense, what we have done, of course, other than, for example, we have acceptable IT usage policy, which we require every employee to sign. That articulates the assets of the bank, which are used by an employee for his regular roles. And he agrees that I will use it responsibility safely and securely by adhering to the policies of the bank. He is required to, physically accept and sign it. So that creates a sense of involvement there. I'm not saying only that. So similarly, that is one part of the story. Other is when the consistency is also created when you deploy frameworks across the organization which ensure a sense of discipline. ISO 27001 system, the fundamental tenet of that system is for continuous improvement. So you create a baseline and then build on that, continuously improve, wherein all of them, you cannot just have one person or one group doing that. The entire scope of that ISO standard ensures that every person is whoever is a stakeholder has to contribute to that, to ensure that the ISO standard is maintained, is continuously certified. So that is another part. In fact, even Zero Trust, for example, the fundamental pillars of Zero Trust are identity, data, networks, application workloads, and devices. If you take 5 pillars, this comprises of the entire gamut of IT itself. When you travel on that road, take that journey, every piece of IT infrastructure gets protected, continuously validated, verified. The trust nothing, verify everything concept gets applied across the organization. That again contributes to the uniformity and the consistency. Last but not the least, what about the vendors and the third parties involved? That is another big piece which is a problem area, because you don't have visibility. You don't even know what our friend is doing there. You have contracts, you have SLAs, but there also, what we try to do at least is to ensure, to ask them to adhere to our security baselines, do audit on them. Of course, for that, the contracts, even Reserve Bank, our regulator, also says that contracts should ensure that the vendor agrees for audit. That is, so the vendor piece is taken. What I'm trying to say here is, the stakeholders need to be aware of the culture of compliance and security which is required across the length and breadth of organizations. Your other stakeholders which are outside your organization also need to be aware. Last but not least, customers also need to be aware, for which, of course, we have to go disseminate this information continuously through social media and all other means. We have created booklets, videos, and all portals, internal portals, all of them which disseminate continuously this information in various forms. So, even if you take a training itself, the topic of the training could be totally a different subject itself, but we take a class in the training. One class is reserved for information security team. So we have told our training college that whatever you take, you reserve one slot for us, so that every chance we get to engage with these stakeholders, I would say net, a continuous engagement with a proper governance system would, to summarize, would help every organization to have this consistency and uniformity across the system. I will stop here.
No, excellent. I think, if I draw a summary, what you're emphasizing on is the dependence on sound, process, methods, and framework to be able to drive it at scale. All right, fantastic. Thank you. And I think, I now come to, Aman, what I think, each one of you have been discussing, till now. Your organization is actually kind of, laying down that framework or that platform to kind of, achieve some of this. It would be interesting for the audience to listen from you that, ForcePoint as a platform, how is it, effectively enabling the Zero Trust framework?
Sure. So thank you, everyone, and thank you, esteemed panelists, because we got to hear varied views, and I think everybody is looking forward in whatever they are trying to achieve. And I really liked how Suryanarayanan sir started is that, the whole basis is to trust my customers, and therefore, as ForcePoint, we believe is that the infrastructure that we create has to be so strong that can help continue to build this trust. So when we think of Zero Trust infra, what we believe is 3 guiding principles. I'm not going to believe in anything, and I'm not going to trust in anything. I'm going to verify everything, what's happening. Second, as sir mentioned, COVID came in and, people moved out. So we will assume that it is going to be a perimeterless environment. And third is that instead of implicit trust, we will move to explicit trust. Now, with these 3 guiding principles, as Venu sir said, it's a journey, it's a principle, it's an architecture. we have brought out some solutions. And let me ask one question to the audience. What is most important to you in your mobile phone or in your laptop? Your data, I believe, right? So, as sir also mentioned that, data is very important when we are building a. So our whole focus is data first approach. If we can secure data in a trustworthy manner, rest of the things will fall in place. Now, we don't limit ourselves to just zero trust data. We believe that for the banking operation to happen, there has to be access. So can we build a zero trust access by leveraging technology? For example, if I want to go onto internet, can I create an isolation layer between us and the internet so that nothing detonates on my device? It's called remote browser isolation. Okay, now we know we have secured the data, we know we have given access in a secure way, but there's a lot of content which is going to get shared between us. Can we have a content disarm and reconstruct technology which is called CDR, wherein any document that will be coming inside the bank or going outside the bank, we will not let it go in the same form and shape, but we are going to kind of deconstruct it and reconstruct it again and then deliver it. So we've covered the data, we've covered the access, we've covered the content, and we believe the last part is the human element to that, which is usage. So if we can build some kind of risk scoring basis the digital behavior of the user with the content and the data, and see if the behavior is not normal, and we could increase the risk score dynamically and then prevent any kind of loss is the approach which we take. So broadly, as Force Point, we believe in a data first approach and trying to bring in new solutions. In fact, we acquired an Indian company very recently which was in the space of remote browser isolation, and we are very proud that India is now at the forefront of our development as well.
Super. I'll probably just take a few more minutes to get your views on how AI is now playing into what you are doing, trying to do, in terms of your platform.
Yeah, so we just believe that we'll not let AI be only with the bad guys, and as cybersecurity companies, we'll also leverage AI. So there are two aspects of AI which I would like to cover. One is whatever we were doing manually. I think Rajendran sir mentioned about classifying the data, classification, right? Instead of doing it manually, can I create an AI-driven engine which understands account numbers, can understand PI information, can understand different languages, and is trained in a numeral learning? For example, if I show you guys this, within an instant of a second, you say it's a specs, right? You didn't compare it with anyone, you didn't refer to a manual, but a point in space in your brain said that this is a spectacle. Similarly, we have trained an AI engine which understands data using AI. And then we hand over this AI to the bank, which is the on-premise AI. And then bank selects what percentage of matching would they need. So 40%, 50%, 60% or 100%. And then bank starts applying their rules onto it, and by way of machine learning, it gets smarter and smarter in your own environment. So our entire data discovery and data classification process is based on AI. So that is one side on the tool side. Now the other aspect is that Venu sir may say that, I would like to leverage generative AI in my environment so that my bank is able to be more modern and adopt technology. So we go to Venu sir and we say that, sir, when your team members are using generative AI, they might, because generative AI takes your data and then it churns and it gets smarter and it uses everybody's data. So our data protection tools prevent any sensitive information to be uploaded onto a generative AI platform. It believes that most of the employees are working in a trusted way, so it has got an auto training tool inside that, where a lot of prompts come up to the guy who's using generative AI, and it teaches them that this data you should not use in a generative AI of this manner, or this data you could use in this way. So in a summary, I think we believe that data security everywhere is the way to go ahead. Whether, for example, I want to secure my cloud apps and let my third party, like he mentioned, like it has to go to the last mile. I have a third party vendor and he has to go to my cloud app. But what about the data which is going between them? Can I look at that data, understand that data and protect that data? In spite of having an agentless environment of the third party BYOD. Yes, it is possible today because of the solutions that we have built over a period of time using AI, and also encouraging organizations to ethically and safely adopt generative AI.
Fantastic, thank you. I think AI will have a big role to play in specifically all of the correlation that is involved in your platform. We'll probably take the reverse order. Mr. Thomas, the next question again will probably be back to you. Is that in your kind of a setup, such a diversified setup, right? Knowledge sharing and collaboration, I'm sure, plays a significant role. What, in your view, is the impact or the influence that it has on the adoption of zero trust security?
Yeah, again, sorry. As I was mentioning earlier, and even Dr. Rajendran was also commenting on that, in terms of the awareness, implementing not only zero trust, even a security strategy across, rolling it out across an organization, involves, as I was also mentioning earlier, the entire set of stakeholders need to be involved, they need to be aware, they need to be trained, and they need to be involved, I would say. That starts from basically all your best practices and governance systems, right from your leadership downwards. Everybody has to get involved. I mean, there is a leadership commitment required, that is involvement from the leadership side. Similarly, going down the line, your users have to be made aware, trained, and there is a cross-cultural involvement required. When I say that, what I mean is IT, security, risk, compliance, audit, and business team. They all need to work together. For that to happen, it is a tall task, but it will happen only when all of them feel the need for that. The business team should be convinced that, okay, what they are doing is what is good for me also. I mean, it will help me and my customers. It will help me to protect my customers. It will help me to drive more business. I can project a view of a secure organization to my customers. So this cross-cultural collaboration is very, very critical for not only zero trust, in fact, for any specifically security project to succeed. And that comes out of continuous engagement in terms of meetings, dissemination of information through various ways, and active engagement of all the parties involved. It cannot be done in isolation. That's what I would like to emphasize here. Similarly, training plays a major role, and training is not meant only for tech users and non-tech users. Both of them require training. And here the point of the earlier or olden days, we used to have a concept called train the trainer. You put a person, a Spock in a department, train him and make him the champion, and then ask him to push it across in his own department. Then the departmental users feel that, okay, he's one of them anyway, and he's there to help. We are also behind him to help. That goes a long way to push this concept across. Knowledge sharing is definitely part of this, in terms of the importance of such initiatives and activities have to be emphasized across organization, and relevant and specific knowledge has to be propagated across the system. That is equally important. Net, I would put it this way: collaboration, knowledge sharing, awareness, training all play a very, very critical role in the rollout of not only zero trust, any cybersecurity initiative. They are fundamental requirements. Without that, the initiative itself will fail. That is what I want to emphasize. Absolutely no doubt about it. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. I think what you're outlining is that the onus of securing the house is not just on the security guard sitting outside, but every individual within the house. Okay, excellent. Quickly pivot into knowing that, we got 5 more minutes. Mr. Venugopal, among all that you have seen getting implemented, is there, a specific use case or a success story that, you would want to outline where you've seen the maximum benefit coming out of the adoption?
Yeah, apologies to all my colleagues or friends in the business community. It was helpful for me to define the use case for Zero Trust from the misuse case. Because many times you observe that some of those practices, some of those aspects which the business or other functions carry out as an exception. So based on those exceptions, it was easy for me to develop the use cases. For example, let me put it this way. So I've seen some of those users, some of the departments started sending a lot of confidential documents to their own personal mail IDs, of course with the good intention that they wanted to work from their home when they reached home, and then they wanted to support and finish their job, right? So that was a tip. I mean, that's basically a tidbit for me to sort of define that, okay, I need to have a use case where a secure remote workplace need to be sort of a work from home kind of a model need to be done than VPN, right? VPN may not be working, or they might have forgot the credentials, or they may not carry that application where the OTP was there. So those sort of issues, of course, the practical issues may be there. That's could be one reason why they did. The other, again, misuse was that I've seen, business engages with the vendors without informing IT or information security, and they say, okay, now we have this partner who had engaged for this business process outsourcing, and I don't have the budget for going with all my outsourced vendor to have the laptop or desktop provided from the bank's end. They would be working from their own environment, right? So those sort of practices started seeing. Then I said, there should be a secured way of third-party access to these partners. While we don't have to, or they don't have to invest, or the business need not have to invest on the resources like having our own infrastructure, but in a secured way, they can use their own infrastructure, provided it will do a post-evaluation, as you said, like risk validations being performed, verified on a periodic basis, a risk score has been defined, and if it meets certain criteria, we allow them to connect. So that was the second use case. And third use case was more towards, information technology. I saw the firewall administrators started creating a lot of blanket rules, right? Any to any kind of thing across my network, as Sir was mentioning about the, while inside the network, it's more of an implicit trust. Now, I also see that some of those applications which are unrelated to the other application in production environment is communicating to each other for whatever reasons. Maybe they wanted to sort of jump to another server and then go to another server, but there is no segregation. So that actually helped me to define the use cases, micro-segmentation, secure micro-segmentation, so that only the relevant network and application traffic should talk to each other. So this was helpful for me.
Fantastic. Excellent.
In defining those use cases.
Excellent. I think, Mr. Rajendran, in your context, okay, you deal with a lot of, member bodies and other partners. How do you bring in that consistency when you are working in this kind of an ecosystem?
So consistency in this, say this framework, if you see specifically, say everyone get audited, okay? Any information, whether it is the data, whether it is the information, security informations, or the security alerts, or the system alerts. So every data need to be inspected, okay? So that way, when you see the thing, the collaboration between the partners and the organization, so it goes to the different levels like that. I remember things, some of the cases, in some areas, we used to have only partner networks. Still, I think so, most of the banks uses the partner networks, where they have created a partial trust network. So then that means that, okay, once you landed there, okay, these kind of groups are together but sharing or transferring information each other. So like that, you need to do the domain identification. So similarly, you can see the things, customer, how it is going to be land. If I suppose I'm doing a transaction, say in banking scenarios, and the card, if I'm doing a transaction, I need to only access only that card channel. It should not be given anything, even though I am authenticated customer, I should not allow to go to another channel. If I wanted to go to another channel, you need to increase your another authentication. Now you are coming to this channel, additional thing you want to access, again you authenticate it. So this level you need to have is every services, you need to create a small capsule kind of things, and do then this, finally then you reach your goal of achieving the zero trust environment.
Excellent. Thank you. We're just about time. I just wanted to close by, first of all, acknowledging, I think, as a leadership team across so many reputed organizations, including, platform partner like ForcePoint, in terms of shaping the great trust that, we are building, in the entire Indian banking system. I think the UPI payment is a great example, right? The trust that it creates right from, the ground level. And I'm sure in the years to come, we will continue to make it stronger. Also ensuring that, the customer satisfaction is continued to kind of, the experience of the customer is also kept in consideration as we move forward. Thank you for your time and presence over here today.
Thank you. That was a wonderful session, Mr. Avik Chatterjee and his team. Thank you so much, Avik. I request you to hand over mementos to your fellow panelists, please. Can we have the mementos on stage, please? Please, come up.